In this demonstration, we will show how a citizen can contribute to medical research in an easy way and surprisingly even without sharing data initially. So for this, we're going to use the research scenario. If you remember the other demonstrations I've talked about healthcare access, emergency. In this demo, we focus only on research and how patients can contribute. So we are still using a patient-centric approach where we add bottom-up to top-down, and we will focus on a few problems specific to improving medical research with InteropEHRate protocols. So on patient side, we will help them contribute to research to find new treatments, and for the stakeholders of medical research, which means the industry, pharmaceutical companies, medical device manufacturers, biotech CROs, plus the academic contributors, we will show how we can help them collect rich data and also recruit patients. And all of this, again, with a very high level of privacy and a real patient centricity that can be demonstrated in the application that we are using. More precisely, for patients, what we impose, if you want, is that there is a consent for all studies. We do that in two parts. The first part is simply a consent to be considered to be included in studies. So in this first phase, there is zero sharing of data by patients. They only consent that their data can be evaluated for potential study, and this is done on their smartphone, so no data is leaving their smartphone. What happens behind the scene is that the inclusion-exclusion criteria from various studies are downloaded from a server to the mobile phone of patients and run locally on the local smartphone of the patient. So no data is shared. This is really a strong innovation, and this is how we can guarantee a very high level of privacy without compromising data of patients, and also allowing research and recruitment on a large scale. Of course, when a patient can be included in a study, they will need to consent to sharing specific data elements to the sponsors of this study. So, of course, for medical research players, there's two main use cases, recruitment of patients and data collection, which we will address very quickly. Patient recruitment. A few words before showing the screens of the mobile application. For those who don't know, it's already a very difficult problem today to find the right patients that have the characteristics that are necessary to run the trial. It's also a growing problem because now, fortunately, modern medicine is addressing a large number of the sicknesses and diseases that could affect a large number of patients, but for rarer disease, it's becoming more and more difficult to recruit patients. Also, when you have recruited the patient, there is a number of patients that drop out for various reasons, and if the number of patients gets too low, then the data is not significant anymore, and the whole study can be thrown away or aborted, and with very high costs to the sponsors. There's also the question of patients' motivation. We don't believe that a patient will simply contribute to a large number of studies just for the sake of it, but we believe that if patients are in control, both of their data and their consent, they will be a lot more motivated because they are in control, and also they will have access to the health data, which is a strong ask by patients. And some studies have shown today that 85% of patients agree to contribute to research, but under conditions. A number of strict conditions, like I want to be able to give my consent first, I want to be able to remove my consent, I want to know who will use my data and what the data will be used for. If I am informed of all of these elements, usually I agree to share my data as a patient. So in this screen, you see the health record of Sam Thomas, And then we go to the InteropEHRate service area in the mobile application, where we first show that this is not a diagnostic tool. And then we arrive at the list of three scenarios or group of services that the InteropEHRate protocols offer to patients and others. We will use the third one here, the contribute to research. And initially for the recruitment of patients, unfortunately, this demo will be very poor. You will not see a lot because everything happens in the background. And there is also a lot of complexity that is hidden on purpose. So when I click on the contribute to research, I just received this message which says that if I click on accept, I will receive automatically in the background a number of information elements on various studies that have been published by sponsors. And I will authorize this application, in this case the SERAP or the Andaman7 application. I will authorize this application to download this information and run it locally against my health data and verify if I can be enrolled in some studies or not. So as a reminder, at this point, I just received data coming from a server, so it's inbound flow of information. There is no outbound flow. There is no information about me that is shared with anybody. Everything resides on the smartphone, and the inclusion-exclusion criteria are evaluated on the smartphone. If I accept this, then I'm finished for this part, if you want, and what will happen over time is that I will receive notifications in case I could contribute to a study. So if I don't match the criteria, of course, nothing will happen. I will not be bothered by anything. But if there is a study which I match as a patient, or my data matches, then I will receive a notification. So here you see on the bottom of the screen, new study is available. This is a notification that I received because my data does pass inclusion-exclusion criteria. So when I click on that notification, I am sent to this screen where I have a new study there, InteropEHRate research study. That is research that is available to me, and I can decide if I want to contribute to that research or not. On the bottom of the screen, you see that I can remove my consent for my data being searched for research studies. Here I see a bit more information on this study. That's a study on medication effects, side effects for hypertensive patients, and this is run by the FTGM, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, and there is a full consent form here that is displayed by this hospital, which is asking me for some of my data. So I can read the details of this study, and I can decide if I want to contribute to that study or not. Usually there is a lot of information, as you can see, because it's a very regulated area. It's a very strict, there are very strict regulations for running clinical trials in order to protect patients, of course. And I can select here the countries that are part of this study. Here you have 2 countries that contribute to this study, and in each country there is one or several hospitals that contribute. I chose here the one that is close to me, and then I will be part of the study immediately. Now let's say a few words about data collection. What can this system bring to patients and to researchers? First, more data. If we include patients, of course, we can collect the activity data, nutrition data, sleep data that the patients are generated today with those new devices like smartphones, smartwatches, glucometers, or blood pressure monitor, all kinds of vitals and data that the patient is collecting in the real life. Drug usage, of course, what a patient is taking as a drug and how many times they take it and for what reason, that can be collected very quickly. very efficiently. And also EHR data, at least apart from patients. Of course, the mobile application, as you saw in other demo, can connect to hospitals and get a copy of that data, but patients are also authorized to enter data in the health record. Everything is tracked, of course. We know that this information comes from the patient, but we can also use the data from patients. We also offer better data. I don't know if you know, but 30% of electronic health record in hospital do have some kind of errors or incompleteness, because when you leave the hospital, there is usually no follow-up, or it's difficult to have a follow-up for the hospital. It's usually the family doctor, the pharmacist, and a number of other players that help the patients. So if you change drugs, nobody knows in the hospital. If you have other conditions, sometimes they don't know. If you develop a new allergy, they don't know also. So having the patients in control of the health data and being able to add more information is very important, because they can then fix the information. In this quick example, you see a very short questionnaire that can be used for a study. You see a second questionnaire, a health questionnaire, where there are a number of questions for the patient, and then they can answer those questions as part of the study. We have multi-pages questionnaires with easy to use screens. You can take pictures if it's a skin problem, for example. And in this case, you can see that there will be a questionnaire that is not yet available. It will be available later. And then there are a number of tools like this to enter additional information that are complementary to the study itself. Voilà, these are some explanations on how we can run studies with mobile phones, with the patients being very much at the center and in control. And you have seen how the InteropEHRate protocols improve the research, the patient-mediated research. Thank you for your time.